So I... Hi guys, welcome to the second video on my channel. Today I'm going to review the Hunger Games, like 9 or 10 years later. I don't know what the title is going to be yet. I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory though before I start. So I studied literature in university for 3 years and I developed a hatred for books and reading. So much even that I did my master's in linguistics in a field that is the furthest away of books you can go, and I didn't read anything for over a year. But I kept having this feeling of like, I used to love reading and writing as well, so much, and it is sad that I didn't do one of my favorite hobbies anymore at all. So I decided to go to Goodreads and there's this subcategory called lists, and there's a list called best books ever, which is very intriguing, right? And on top of the list is The Hunger Games, this book. And I think that a lot of people will think like, that's not like critically acclaimed, the best book ever. It's not the highest rated book on Goodreads, for example, but it is the most popular one in that particular intriguing list. And I actually read The Hunger Games back in high school, so it did stick, you know, and I decided that I wanted to reread it. And if you don't like reading, or if you want to start liking reading, is this grammatically correct? If you want to start reading again, I really highly recommend The Hunger Games. This was a good choice. I am so happy that I did this because I am genuinely reading again. So I want to talk about how it stood the test of time in a way, if you will. How do I look at it now? How do I look back on it, I guess, is the good summary. So yeah, I made 9 parts. Wow. Do I have to tell you what this book is about? Do I have to do like a... I guess I do. So Panam is basically North America in the future. You have the capital, which is surrounded by 12 districts, and every year all 12 capitals have to send out 1 girl and 1 boy each to fight to the death on national TV in the Hunger Games. So we follow Katniss Everdeen, who is 16 years old, and she volunteers as a tribute so that her little sister doesn't have to go. She actually is a strong contestant because she knows how to survive and how to hunt, for example, and how to deal with hunger. I love her. She is so great. I do not remember this. Like, she's genuinely rude and mean to people, but she also cares very deeply. You can tell, obviously, like, her sacrificing herself for her sister is the best example of that. There was this scene where the contestants had to show their talents to the game makers, and then she shot the apple. She's this fierce character. On the one side, she is strong and compassionate and loyal, but then on the other side, I think what I completely, or maybe I was not old enough to realize it, but she's so oblivious about romance and love. Jeez, both with Gale and with Peeta, and I'll touch on that as well. But she just doesn't see it. She's like, oh, is this a strategy? Oftentimes she thinks that he does it so that she will trust him, so he can use her in the games and stuff like that. And I love how she is not that good at picking up social cues, for example. She did popularize badass females for people of my age and younger, and probably older as well, because this book is, well, it's not old obviously, but it's also not new anymore. She's such a proud person, you know, like shooting the apple in the pig's mouth, for example. She has so many layers, you know. I can talk about her for a long time, about who she is as a person. Katniss is legit rude from time to time, and like she has this big wall between her and other people. I guess you can make a point of her. For example, every kill in the Hunger Games she does out of self-defense, or you know, she killed Katso, I think his name is, because he was being mauled by mutts for hours, and then to, you know, end it for him. I think that is also one of the only complaints I really have. It would have been nice, or like, you know, Foxface got killed by accident because she ate the berries. It would have been nice for her to actually do something like that, but then on the other hand, I kinda like the fact that she didn't outward just kill somebody for the sake of it here. Well, this really says something about who she is as a person. But in conclusion, she's a great character, and I like that. I like how she is. It's hard to make this female character that's really an example for teenage girls, but also make her flawed in the best way possible. I think that Suzanne Collins did this. Basically, I don't know how to really explain it, but I liked that there was this really feminine element of, you have to convince people to sponsor you, like the rich people, so you had to like wear pretty dresses and speak very professionally, and you have to have pretty makeup. It is a skill. I like how this was really presented as a skill, like the careers, they were really charismatic and they were good on camera, and people ate them up and they loved them, and then it was not presented as just like a ditzy girly thing. I think readers, when I scrolled through Goodreads reviews, a lot of readers were like, oh yeah, The Hunger Games is only 1/3 of the book, it's so late. I liked all the preparation things. I liked how Katniss was just bad at it. And it's not bad in the sense of like, oh, she's too manly and cool. Because, for example, Haymitch, her mentor, my favorite character, he tells her like, you have to be more open and people have to like you, and then Peeta is good at it. In the books he's described as like really broad-shouldered and strong, and Haymitch even recommends him to show off his skills of just lifting heavy things. But he also is very charismatic, and he knows how to capture the public, and he even knows how to make Katniss look charismatic. And I guess my point is that it is a weird yet very well done balance between like beautiful things and then the horror of like killing people. I love this. It is not just Katniss is badass because she's very manly. She could have easily been presented as a not like other girls type of character who feels too good to be pretty. I like it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but the fact that that's more of a skill than something that's really nice. I like it. The point of this video is that I like The Hunger Games. I want to talk specifically about Peeta. He could have very easily just been a lover boy, because that's what people call him as well in the book. Like the antagonists call him lover boy and stuff. He could very easily just be the love interest. He is, in a sense. I guess one of the other complaints, and I'll come back to that, is that other characters could have been fleshed out a lot more. But then one of my favorite scenes is where Katniss and Peeta sit on the roof and they talk about the upcoming games, and Peeta says that he doesn't want to change and that he wants to die as him, and he wants to show the game makers that they don't own him and stuff like that. And I think it's really powerful stuff. It's definitely not something Katniss would think, because she was so keen on just surviving. I like that. That's the conclusion. I feel like the love triangle really is what made The Hunger Games a product of its time, and I think if Suzanne Collins would have written it today, she would have left it out. It is really stupid that Gale does not get the opportunity, well, Peeta as well, that they both of them do not get the opportunity to just be friends, and for just the book to symbolize that you can just be friends. I feel like the triangle stuff was shoehorned in there in a way. It almost feels misplaced. Maybe I'm looking for excuses here, But there really was a time when love triangles were so freaking popular. It's very unnecessary. I read somewhere that it is very symbolic, like the two sides of the war, if you will. There's this love that you will, or Katniss doesn't really develop a love, but there's a fondness that she develops while away for somebody, but there's also somebody waiting for her at home, if that makes sense. I think the Hunger Games did start a trend. I think Susan Collins' world with factions and a corrupt government, it was very unique at its time. The Uprising as well, this is more about the series. I like how the world made room for that to happen. I love how Katniss will become the symbol, right? Or like the way the game makers, one of them, I forgot his name, he like changes sides. Or Cinna as well, like his symbolism, it fits in this world. Also, I've read people like making comparisons to our world. I think you can always compare fictional worlds to ours. I don't think that was really Colin's intention. Obviously, I don't know. I feel like meh about that one. I touched on this a little bit, but I think that the side characters are a weaker part. There is a tendency to really just stick to one-dimensional cliches. Even, do you remember Rue? Like the tiny girl that got shot and then Katniss builds this entire flower bed around her. She, in the end, she just is like this typical, oh, I am very tiny, but I am not weak at all. The same with like the careers, they're very bully stereotype. Even Haymitch, I think, is this like drunk mentor. Maybe Cinna didn't have it. You know, like the fact that I'm like, maybe Cinna. Like he did do awesome things. This book is written in the first person present tense, which is perfect. Especially in the last part of the book during the Hunger Games. It's really easy to just, I do this, this is happening, I'm thinking this. There's so much show don't tell. It's very straightforward. The quick pace almost invites you to read this very quickly and read this, I'm like pretending to finish this book very quickly in a couple of days. I think I finished this in less than a week. I think it fits perfectly, honestly, for the events, for the tone. Yeah. As a 14-year-old, you think that 16 years old are so mature. As a 23-year-old, I think that 16 years old, they're so young. So in hindsight, the Hunger Games are really cruel. I don't think teenagers are kids. You know, sometimes you hear it like, oh, she's 17, she's just a kid. I don't think so. They're still very young. Katniss, for example, to be like, whoa, the other people that get killed are so young, that's so bad. It doesn't get mentioned in the books at all. But it is something that I think about now that I did not do when I was younger. The first time I read this, I obviously pictured myself as one of the possible, like, what if I would get picked, what would I do? Now it's more like, it's weird, it gives me a weird, I have to protect these kids from getting picked in the first place kind of vibe, rather than how would I survive. Another reason for me to recommend rereading this book, it is really interesting to think about. I think that also is a main difference. I see Katniss and the other kids or teenagers in the games, I see them in a different way. And then especially like the way I look at Haymitch and Effie, for example, or her mom was very not there. And Katniss even tells her, like, this time you have to keep caring for my sister and stuff like that. You see this differently. I think I would say that I look at it with a more caring view. I really liked the fact that I started with this book. If you mention the Hunger Games, people will be like, oh yeah, that was great, but it is not as relevant anymore. It was back in its day, and I still think it does have a very strong and unique plot. and inspired this entire like subgenre of books. I like Katniss. I think she is a great example for teenage girls. I love this. If you have read this recently, or if you plan on, please tell me. I want to know what other people think about this. Other than that, thanks for watching. I'm sorry that I'm being awkward. I am an awkward person. I also read Catching Fire and Mockingjay, so I will make videos on those books as well. I am already halfway through my script, or my bullet points for Catching Fire, so it is coming. I'm promising myself to upload at least once a week. Hopefully I will do that. I will see you all next week, and thanks for watching. Bye!